Hello and welcome to Imperfect in an Uncertain World, resources for living with authenticity and purpose. I want to share with you thoughts on fear. Now, fear is uncomfortable, it's inevitable, but fear in our lives can be a powerful impetus for transformation. It's a wake up call to continue the great quest of our soul. So, how do we increase its power and diminish the force in our life? So I want to begin by saying I know that you're scared. So am I. We cannot give in to the force of our fear. To do so would cause minute cracks in our being. Unchecked, the force of our fear can overwhelm us, shattering us into shards and leaving us feeling impotent, unable to even make choices in our life. But there is a power in our fear that cannot be denied. That power is birthed in the acknowledgement of our fear. So we can't run from fear. We've got to sit and acknowledge that we're afraid. That power is harvested by calling upon our courage. Then and only then can real change occur in our life, and can we be emissaries of change for others. So, power and force. I want to start with definitions based upon the words of Merriam-Webster. So, if we look at power, power is the ability to act or produce an effect. It's mental or moral efficacy. It's to give impetus to. So, for me, power is a driving outward force of change. And I'm using that word force in a little bit different way than we're going to get to now. It's an outward way of changing ourselves in our life. Now, force is a compulsion or a constraint acted in such a way to do violence or to break open. And so earlier I talked about that whole idea of if we give into our fear, the force it'll be like pouring water on a rock, and it seeps into cracks that you cannot even see, and then the temperature goes down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And what happens? The rock cracks open because it gets into those fissures, and that's what the force of fear does. So what I want to do is I want to tweak or add to those definitions. So for me, power is a response that wells up from the core of who you or I am. It's a shout from our authentic self that echoes the courage that is simmering within. It's a recognition of fear, but a resolve not to allow the fear to overwhelm us, me or you. Um, the power is to use fear as a wake up call to what is happening in our life. So, force in regards to fear is an overwhelming reaction that fills us with an inability to move through illusion and doubt. So we get stuck in whatever is going on in our life in that moment. We're paralyzed by fear. Unchecked, it shatters us into shards. We don't know what to do or where to go, and it just happens. We get caught in the fear, are paralyzed, and unable to see the message in the moment. Because I believe that when we ride the power of fear, we are able to see what the message that fear is giving us. And that's a message that will help us learn our life lesson in the moment, and help us meet our challenges. So it's key to harness the power of your fear so to minimize its destructive force. And I'm going to say it begins in the beginning. It begins with the acknowledgement of how fear is speaking through your body, mind, and emotions. So ask yourself, how is my fear impacting my body? And for me, that winds up being an overwhelming fatigue. I might feel the aches and pains more, they may be more apparent in my body. I might feel more sluggish at the end of the day. It's just I can really feel it in my body. Mentally, scattered. There's not a whole lot of clarity. Maybe you find yourself not being able to find the perfect word that you would like to use. It might be that you're stumbling over words, or your memory isn't as good. You might repeat the same thing in a matter of an hour 5 times to the same person because you can't remember if you told them or not, or you think it's important, so you say it. So there's a fuddling in your mind. And emotionally, you might have anxiety, angst, depression. You may be more prone to react um, because everything feels more raw with fear. Now, you might not even understand the depth of the fear, but you can acknowledge how that fear is impacting how you are interacting with yourself and in the world. It's important that you acknowledge the voice of your fear. So you name how it's impacting you. Because to acknowledge the voice is to reduce the intensity of fear symptoms. So you may feel anxious, so you decide to do a mindfulness technique of breathing. You may feel like you need to get out and walk. You may just sit with those emotions, and the lifespan of an emotion is 90 seconds. So you might sit with that emotion, feel a crescendo, and then fall off. So there are things that you can do once you acknowledge fear to begin to move it up and out of your being. Next, be aware of your propensity to respond or react. Name how you use the power of courage to respond. Identify how you get tangled in the force of your fear. Now, don't despair when you react, it happens. Remind yourself that a fear based reaction is a natural byproduct of living. They're learning tools that we can go back and ask ourselves, how could we have done that differently? And then with awareness, make those different choices next time. I have to tell you, I believe that we get scared every day. Sometimes that scary moment is so small we don't even notice our fear or the subsequent reaction. Other times it's right in our faces and we notice it. So when you notice it, have fear, have compassion when you get twisted in the fear. To shame yourself is to drive fear deeper into the well of your being. Self compassion is about recognizing that you're human. We all fall. Know that without fear, you would not birth courageous response. The power in fear is the ability to nudge us into courageous response. It's about celebrating each moment that you harness the courageous power of fear, noticing that, patting yourself on the back, knowing that you got this in some moments. And when you don't got it, it's time to learn why. Because I believe there is no fear without an opportunity for courage. Courage speaks through moments of fear. It gives you the impetus to move through a challenging time into your true self. So I want to invite you to start by having a conversation with courage. No matter how quiet, how timid the voice of fear, listen to the words of courage. Decide how, with courage's guidance, you can kindle the flame of your power. And that's what's important. Fear triggers courage, which kindles the flame of your fire. This gesture doesn't even have to be grand. Any spark of courage is enough. Then respond with your power. This can be as simple as a mindfulness practice of breathing through your fear, or it can be having a difficult conversation with someone. It can be changing your actions in the moment from a reaction to response. It's usually an act that will take you out of your comfort zone. And a courageous act or response can be present in an infinite number of actions. We are all different. We're all unique. So how we express our courage, how we use the power of our fear to move us into courage will be very different for each of us. So no matter how you express it, Your actions echo with the power of who you are. So, again, I'm going to tell you that fear is uncomfortable, it's inevitable, but man, fear is powerful. It is a wake up call to continue the great quest of our soul. Will it wake the tangling fear vines that cause minute cracks in your being, or will it propel you to the heights of your true self? Probably the answer is yes to both, but only you can know that answer and respond with courage and compassion. So, what do you think about the power of fear versus the force of fear? Let me know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Contact me if you are for your thoughts of it. I would love to hear from you. Vanessa at intentandaction.com. You can check out resources on my website, intentandaction.com, intentandaction.com. More resources are available if you're having a little bit of fear problems getting quite over that, transitioning from the force of fear to the power of fear. As a life coach, I would be happy to work with you. 1 session, 5 sessions, whatever you would need. Give me a call. Let's set that up. But most importantly, live your life knowing that fear is inevitable, but we don't have to get stuck in our fear as we move forward. Thank you and have a terrific day.